Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Howlin with the Huskies, live from the Steakhouse in Helena. Caleb Brooks, joined by head football coach at Helena High School, Coach Richie Busby. And Coach, due to a different week last week, with school being out on Monday and you guys having a JV game last Tuesday, weren't able to get the show done. So going to recap the last two games and start preparing for the big one this Friday night with Pelham. But kind of take us back to the Homewood game. You know, we talked about that one going in, and I asked the question. I said, do you feel like this could be a trap game for you guys? And you said it definitely can be. I listened to an interview that you had after the game, and you talked about how it ended up becoming that trap game for you guys. So just kind of take us back to that Homewood game and what Homewood was able to do really, really well that caused you guys some issues in that ball game.
Well, you know, like I said, going into the game, I felt like, you know, we could be in a tough spot there with Homewood coming off the 35-0 loss to Vestavia and their expectations, and us having the big win at Buckhorn on the road, and then being back home for the first game. You know, the first half of that game, it seems like a month ago now, but the first half of that game, we moved the ball up and down the field, but we would, you know, get a penalty on first down, be 2nd and 20, and you know, we're not a team that's made to play behind the chains. And then we had another drive going that half where we had a bad snap and lost 20 yards. So just seemed like we shot ourselves in the foot. We didn't execute very well in that first half and went down 14-0. But, you know, like our kids do, we went in at halftime kind of, everybody was calm but me, you know. And really I was upset just because I didn't feel like they listened to what I told them all week as far as what to expect. And, you know, take nothing away from Homewood. That quarterback played, you know, one hell of a game. I think they had over 400 yards offense, and he had about 305 of it, you know, running and throwing the ball. We knew he was special. We watched him all summer in 7-on-7 and had a couple of receivers that dealt us fits. But, you know, we come back out in the third quarter and take the lead 15-14, and, you know, we kind of got the game where we wanted. It's kind of going back and forth. We're moving the ball on the ground, making a few throws when we have to. They kick a field goal early in the fourth quarter to make it 17-15, and we're getting the kickoff with about 8:50 to go in the game, which is usually right where we want to be. And we've been very successful in those spots the last few years, especially at home, being able to take that last drive and eat up 6-7 minutes and score to win a ball game. And our little kick returner, you know, broke a tackle, just trying to get extra yards, playing hard, you know, ran into the back of one of his own players. The ball came loose, and they recovered it. And you know, they ate the rest of the clock up on the ground and punched one in right there at the end. So, you know, as bad as we played mentally from an execution standpoint in the first half, we did what we usually do, and we found a way to put ourselves back in the game with the defense playing really good in the second half and the offense kind of picking it up. But I think our problems against Homewood were mental. You know, like I told them the next Monday, it wasn't about effort. Our effort is usually not our issue, or it hasn't been since I've been there. Staying in the moment, executing, you know, working week by week, not getting ahead of ourselves, not getting down on ourselves, and, you know, just figuring out a way to each week to get the game towards the end where we have a chance to win it. We just weren't able to do it that night. But like I said, don't take anything away from Homewood. They played a great game.
When you look back at, you know, that week for your guys, was there anything that you could take away from the preparation for that game and from how they kind of acted during the week that you could fix going forward that you felt like, or was it just something where they just didn't take Homewood as seriously as they needed to, and then the result just happened?
Well, yeah, I mean, looking back, if I can remember right, I don't think we practiced real well Tuesday morning. We practiced twice on Tuesday. I thought our focus was not real good Tuesday morning. Now, sometimes Tuesday mornings are tough for us because we play a JV game on Monday night, and it's a quick turnaround for a lot of the guys. So sometimes we struggle there, but looking back, if I remember right, I don't think we practiced very well on Tuesday. I thought our focus wasn't very well. And then on game day, with it being our first home game, and, you know, our campus is it's small. You just got so many athletes running around. I didn't think we did a very good job after school of staying focused, getting ready to play football. And it all showed, and that's what got us in the first half, putting ourselves in that position in the game against a really good Homewood team that's going to, schematically, they're always going to be good. They're going to be coached up. They're going to be ready for you. And we just weren't able to overcome those deficits that we created for ourselves.
Looking back now at the previous game, you guys took on Chilton County. And Chilton County, you know, now they're sitting at 2-2, but I think they're a lot better than what their record is showing right now. And from what I've been told by a couple of people I know from down there, they got some athletes this year, especially at the skill positions. What did they do early Friday night that caused you guys some issues and kind of put you in a hole that you had to dig yourselves out of?
Well, we went back and forth on the first drive. We scored. They came back down and scored, or vice versa, and then we kind of put ourselves in a bad spot. We kind of had the game muddied up like we wanted it to go, because they really have the ability with that the Boykin kid, number 5, the receiver, to really run away from you in a hurry. I'm not sure. I haven't seen everybody in our region, but Chilton County is going to be at the top of the list when it comes to talent, skill players, and they're big up front on both sides of the ball too this year. Coach Morton's done a great job of getting all their athletes at Chilton County. I'm told 90% of their basketball players are out playing football. A lot of their baseball players are out playing. So he's got just about every good athlete in that school out playing. That's a testament to him. But just from top to bottom on the roster, they're big and they're physical. They've got the Reddick kid that's got 35 Power 5 offers, and he plays all over the field. He played defensive end, linebacker, Mike backer, played some safety. He does play in the slot, played running back. They didn't play him on offense against us, but he can return kicks. So he's a special athlete, 6'3", 220, can run. So we knew we were up against a battle, against the wall with those guys as far as athletically. But like I said, we went back and forth the first 2 drives, and then we throw a screen play, and all we had talked about, hey, if we call this screen, because he moves around so much, it's kind of hard to formation and figure out where he's going to be. Sometimes he's on the strong side, other times he's on the weak side. So I told our quarterback all week, if we call this screen into 6, he's a good player, and he's not going to fall for it. And we said, throw it at his feet and let's move on and get another down. Well, he tried to make a play. He picks it and goes to the house with it. And, just kind of got ourselves behind the 8 ball, and they made some other plays, running and throwing. Their quarterback's a very savvy kid. He's a catcher on their baseball team, just a great competitor. Any coach would want to have on their team. And they're good top to bottom. And then it's 28-9 at halftime, and we go in, and, everybody asked me, what'd you say at halftime? I said, well, I didn't have long to say anything at halftime. By the time they walked us around and took us to where our locker room was, we had about 5 minutes. But I do remember telling the offensive guys, defense was down with Coach Elgin, obviously making some great adjustments. But I told our offensive guys, if you don't believe you can win this game, then don't come out of the gym. We'll be back in a couple hours, and we'll see what happens. So, kind of got out there and went back and forth with them, had a couple opportunities. We're, still down 28-9 with about 6 minutes to go in the third, and then started making some plays. Hit Hunter Hale on the slow-go route for a touchdown. He made several, third down catches to move the chains. A.J. Horstead had 30 carries of the night for 150 yards, who I was so proud of him as well. But just kind of get some stuff going, and we'd made a few adjustments at halftime, some areas that they were avoiding, trying to take away some of our perimeter stuff. And kids bought in, and it's like I told them, though, the difference between the first half and the second half wasn't effort. It was mental. It was being mental and doing what you're supposed to do. And that's 2 weeks in a row in the first half that we just haven't done a very good job of executing, and that's a mental issue in the first half. So we've got to fix that, because this Pelham team has a lot of firepower too.
Do you feel like any part of the struggles the last 2 weeks come from the success in the region last year, maybe not respecting some of the region opponents as much as the team needs to respect them?
Well, that kind of stuff always worries me, because, these kids, I tell them all the time, you just can't look at scores from week to week and determine whether you're going to win or lose a ball game. And we've talked about this. You just don't know the circumstances in which that team was playing under, who was in the game, who was out of the game, what went on that week, who lost their girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know if it was from the success last year. The reason we beat Chilton County last year 48-41 at homecoming, it was a shootout. I think Jordan had 5 or 6 touchdowns that night. It was everything we could do to beat them last year. And then I saw their roster with all the additions of the basketball. I mean, their defensive end, 6'6", 250, they got out from the basketball team. So, I knew we were in an uphill battle, plus going to Clanton and Chilton County and playing there. I knew all along we were in for a battle. And, I told our kids, I don't know how good our region is statewide, compared to others, because we don't get to see them that way, but I know our region has a lot of parity. I really think the 6th place team could beat the 1st place team any given Friday night, and that's what I'm trying to sell to them. The region winner of this thing may be 4-2, or you may have a bunch of teams 3-3 wadded up. I think Homewood can separate themselves this week, but the rest of us may all be wadded up, and tiebreakers come into effect. And luckily we've beaten a 7A team in Chelsea, and hopefully they'll get a few more wins, and then we've beaten Buckhorn in 6A. So, hopefully if we do get in a tiebreaker situation that we have some wins in that area. But I'm telling you, this region, I think, will go down to the wire as far as maybe not who wins it, but who gets in the playoffs in that second, third, and fourth spot.
Looking at this week now with Pelham, this is a big rivalry game for you guys, especially, people from Helena love to get after Pelham because the school is built off of what Pelham was at one time. And so do you feel like that this week you're maybe not having to push as hard for your guys to be focused for this game and focused to go out and perform well on Friday night?
Well, you would hope not. Most of these kids' parents went to Pelham, and now their kids are playing at, Helena. So you would hope that the mental focus would not be something that you're having to dwell on. And if you are, you're behind the eight ball. And, I learned real quick in 2018 what this rivalry was about. I'm not from either town, and I learned that it's not enough to want to go over there. We're going to go over there and kill Pelham and all this kind of stuff. You've got to play the game. This game always has a lot of ups and downs. Last year we scored late. They turn around, come right back and score on us, and then we hit a play down the sideline where JC scores to win the game at the end. But then they still had a shot under. It's like a minute 30, and they got the ball back. They had another shot at the end zone to win it. And it goes back and forth. It can be a low-scoring game. It can be a high-scoring game. It's just you don't ever know what this game is going to bring, but you do know you've got two schools this close together. Literally maybe 2 miles from one another. And it's the game that matters. It's like I told our senior class today, this is the game you're measured on. Everybody will ask you, your senior year, did you beat Pelham? It's not about when you were a junior, did you beat them, but when you were a senior, did you beat them? And they start 15 seniors and 7 juniors, and we start 5 or 6 sophomores. So on paper, they have way more experience than we do. So it's going to be a battle for us, but hopefully our kids will put ourselves in a position to be in the game late.
When you look at this rivalry and you talk about how you've now gotten to experience a lot within this rivalry and figured out what is it that makes this game different? From an emotional standpoint, from an all that standpoint, just what is it about this game that makes it just different from all the other ones and even some of the non-region rivalries that you guys have?
Well, I think the ties to the community, like I said, a lot of our parents, like Hunter Hale, who'll be on tonight, his dad played football at Pelham. So I think, just when you're this close to one another and everybody knows one another, like I said, most of these parents here, a lot of them played at Pelham, and they still know the people that their kids are still at Pelham on the other side. And, you throw in the fact that we play each other in everything. Probably 12, 15, 16 times a year we're battling. Every time we play, whether it be soccer, football, baseball, basketball, it's the biggest crowd we have of the year. It's the most emotional time we have of the year. But it should be. You've got your biggest rival right across the railroad tracks right there. It is what it should be. It's an Alabama and Auburn type thing, and you're either on one side or the other. We don't let our kids wear green in the field house. I tell them the only thing green can be in that field house is money.
I like it. When you look at Pelham, obviously a new coach this year that moves over from Northridge, how are they going to be different from years past when Coach Causey was over there and they were obviously running a lot of triple option stuff out of the spread formations and things like that? What's going to be different about this Pelham group this year?
Well, for one thing, they have, for the back-to-back or 4 years straight, they've had 2 brothers that have played quarterback there that have been very dynamic. The little kid that's taken over for them does a really good job too. He's a dual threat quarterback, so that won't change a whole lot. You've got Copeland out, Darius Copeland out at wideout, who's a phenomenal player, probably an SEC type player. They've got players all over the field. They're big up front on offense. They've got 6 or 7 guys they can roll in on the defensive line. They've got a lot of depth where we don't. Their whole back end of their secondary seniors. They're a senior-laden team, and yeah, Mike's come in. It's a different philosophy. But all of us are kind of doing the same stuff, unless you're just doing something wing tee or that kind of stuff. Most everything's 4 wide, 3 wide. Everybody's playing with an H-back sniffer. So we're going to see a little bit of all of it. They're going to play with some tight end. They'll play with a sniffer. They'll go 4 wide. They'll go 5 wide. But you see that most every Friday night in high school football.
Is this the type of game that you kind of try to save up plays for, when you look at the beginning of the year, it's, hey, maybe we don't want to run this until Game 5 when we see Pelham, and do you kind of expect the same thing from them?
Well, I think with us, lots of times we're not always in a position where we can save plays. Lots of times we have to use things just to get through week to week. But I think both of us will have some wrinkles in the game that maybe we haven't shown, or we've shown something, but there's going to be a little something off of it that we haven't done, a little gamesmanship. Especially for us, we do a lot of stuff where we try to scheme and get angles on blocks and stuff, because I just feel like somewhat times we're behind the 8 ball with size and speed and that kind of stuff. So we're always trying to create an advantage for our guys, a numbers game, you could say, in the run game. And I'm sure they're going to want to try to run the football too. These kind of games, like we talked about with Chelsea, is going to come down to blocking and tackling and protecting the football.
Talked about A.J. Horsted and him stepping up 30 carries this past week. And when you have a senior like him who can step in and you have your starter go down and he can't play as much as you need him to, how big is it to have a senior like that who can step into that role and has his type of experience that you can count on the way that you guys were able to count on? And do you feel like you're going to have to count on him again like that on this Friday night?
Oh, yeah. And one thing about A.J., if you know A.J., you can always count on him. And he's just one of those kids for 4 years. I don't know that I've ever had to get on to him about doing something that we're doing. He's just always engaged, doesn't complain, doesn't say a whole lot. Like last week I sent him out to be a captain, and I told the official, I said, now number 11 is going to have to talk because A.J. won't say much. He's just one of those kids. He leads by example. He works. And, last year I hated so much for him that he had that ankle injury, and he just couldn't get over it. But I knew that if he would stay the course, I knew that it would benefit us this year. And sure enough, it's like I told him, I said, you never know when your time is going to be, your number is going to be called. And it was called last Friday night, and he ran the ball 30 times, which is a heavy load for somebody with his body type. And then Hunter Hale steps up, has 14 catches, a school record. And it's like I told him Monday at practice, I said, whatever this headline reads in the AL.com or Fox 6 or whatever, it's not going to have an asterisk that Helena's got 4 or 5 starters out. Nobody cares about that. They care about who wins, who loses. They don't write all that other stuff. So somebody's got to step up, and it's an opportunity for somebody to step up and make plays, and that's what we did. And we showed that we could be a little more, wide open in our offense. But, our philosophy is to run the football and play stingy defense, and that's just may not be right. Everybody may not like it, but it's kind of the philosophy that we've brought here, and you got to have one. And you better stick to the one you got, right, wrong, or indifferent. So we've had to get out of our comfort zone a little bit and, create ways to get the ball in other guys' hands other than hand it to Jordan and A.J. 50 times a game.
We talked about this rivalry and everything, and to me, when you have a rivalry game like this, the feeling's different going in, the feeling's different at kickoff. At what point in this game every year do you feel like this starts to settle in and become one of those normal football games?
I think it probably takes a couple possessions. I mean, the kids are so amped up. So, referring back to 2018, our guys were so amped up to play Pelham, they forgot how to play football. And back in those days when Tom was there, running the midline option and the outside, different stuff that Tom did, that if you weren't sound in your responsibilities, he was going to eat you alive. And you can't play this game being overly emotional and not play your responsibilities and your keys, especially when Coach Causey was there. And it'll be the same way Friday night. Mike and them will have some stuff where if we're too amped up and you overrun things, they're going to hurt you on the backside or whatever. So I think it takes a possession or two for everybody to calm down and get in the game, and hopefully, you're not too far behind if you've made some mistakes and that kind of stuff. But they've got several guys that can get away from us if we don't do a good job tackling and funneling to the ball and being where we're supposed to be.
How much do you have to count on senior leadership in a week like this, especially on a Friday where, you kind of talked about last home game, didn't feel like that your guys were as focused they needed to be and prepared as well. And so how much do you count on senior leadership in a week like this where it is a big rivalry game, and for them to kind of talk to some of the younger guys on how to handle it and how to be prepared for Friday night when 7 o'clock hits and the ball gets kicked off?
Well, senior leadership's huge, but I also think just anybody that's played significant minutes in this game can kind of tell the younger guys what to expect. This is a game of back and forth and up and down. Emotions are going to be high early on. it's kind of like Coach Saban said last week, and Coach Sark actually said it for Texas. We got to be enamored with us, worry about us, can't worry about all the outside stuff. It's going to be a huge crowd. Every time we play, both places are packed, and not many seats left. I know we've got 3 or 4 radio stations that are doing the game. We got one coming down from Tennessee that's actually doing the game. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. The weather's going to be tremendous. Best weather we've had all year in high school football. They just got to worry about doing their job and doing what they've been coached to do all week. And so what I told them last week, or today about last week, I said, you went in at halftime, your eyes were kind of wide open, but you came out in the second half and you did what you were coached to do. And it worked out for you in the long run. You've got to believe it's always going to work out. You got to do what you're coached to do. We put a game plan together every week. May not be the one that's right or wrong, but it's the one we sit down Sunday night side. This is what we're going forward with. Most of the time it works out. Sometimes it don't, but you've got to believe in and execute it. I heard the other night one of them go, they know our plays. I'm like, yeah, they know our plays. They got a computer too. They got this software called Huddle and Quick Cuts, same stuff we got. You just got to execute. We've still got somebody blocking every man and doing all those type of things. You got to execute the play, and you got to win one-on-one battles. And I think Friday night, one-on-one battles will be big again as far as us having success or not.
We talked about how tight this region is going to be. So how important does that make getting a win on Friday night and not moving down to 1 and 2 in the region?
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit today. It's going to be big for whoever can kind of get this, this win Friday night. And with Pelham getting that win last week against Briarwood, I mean, you had to go in thinking, Briarwood was probably the favorite to win the region with Chris being over there, their quarterback, and you knew Homewood had a senior experienced quarterback by. And this game is a quarterback game, all the way up through the NFL. So kind of had to feel like those guys were 1A and 1B, and hoping the rest of us go in there and knock some people off. So I think this game is a big game as far as region play goes. But like I said, I think this region is going to beat up on one another throughout the rest of the year, that I don't think it pushes you out of the playoff picture or puts you in the playoffs, even to say that. So, yeah, it's a big game. It's a big game because it's Pelham, whether it's region or non-region. Ever since I've been here, they've been in our region. But even when Chelsea fell out of our region, it didn't change the importance of that game to our fans and our people. So, but that's one of those things that our kids can't be worried about. They can't be worried about, how big this game is for anybody else other than just us inside our walls.
What are your 3 biggest keys for Friday night and you guys coming away with a win in that game?
Well, we're going to have to figure out how, we're going to have to make the quarterback one-dimensional. I mean, last week when they were able to come back, they were 20 down in the fourth quarter, and had a heck of a comeback too. But he was able to run around, gain yards on the ground, and throw it. We need to figure out a way, and like I said, I always feel good about us in the run game defensively. So make them one-dimensional. The thing is, when you make them one-dimensional in the pass game, they got 2 guys, Darius Copeland and a couple other guys that can really, really stretch the field and can cause you major problems. And, if we're playing a lot of man-to-man, the quarterback gets loose. I mean, there's a big yardage there. We've got to do a good job of staying in our rush lanes and being disciplined. That's the worry as a head coach is, are we so amped up about playing this rivalry game that we don't play with discipline early and get ourselves in another hole?
Coach, really appreciate you taking the time to join us again here on Howlin with the Huskies. Good luck this week. Big-time rivalry game. Really looking forward to seeing how this one goes, and look forward to being right back here at the Steakhouse of Helena and recapping it and starting getting prepared for the next one.
All right, thanks, Caleb. Go Huskies.
We'll be back with more right after this.
The Steakhouse of Helena is the place for community gatherings, rich history, and delectable, made-from-scratch meals. Our professional staff is dedicated to serving you with the best steaks, chops, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and more. You'll enjoy a welcoming community atmosphere, local history, and enjoyable dishes you won't find anywhere else. Our restaurant is perfect for the entire family, business events, and special occasions. So come on down to the Steakhouse in historic Old Town Helena.
Welcome back in. Howlin with the Huskies. Caleb Brooks now joined by Hunter Hale, member of the football team for Helena High School and now the school record holder for catches in a football game. And Hunter, you stepped up at a really big time on Friday night for this team, trailing 28-9 at halftime. Huge second half on your part that helped this team come back. and get a big region win. What was it like Friday night to be out there running routes and just kind of being in that zone where you feel like nobody can stop you and you're just making play after play?
It felt really good. It was a great team win. Defense really stepped up. Offense, we started pretty slow, but we got back second half. Coach Busby made some adjustments at halftime, and yeah.
How much did it help that, the week before y'all were kind of in the same situation? You're down at halftime. You're having to try to fight your way back. Even though you didn't complete the comeback the week before, you came back. You took a lead at one point in that game. Did that help with you guys' confidence going into halftime this past week, trailing 28-9 to Chilton County?
Yes, sir. Everyone was calm. No one was out pitching a fit. Everyone was pretty calm. We just trusted Coach and trusted what he told us.
Looking at, that game, we talked about you and catching all the passes in the game and everything. What was allowing you to get as open as you were able to get? And just it had to be a lot of fun to be sitting there getting the ball all the time and knowing that you were a big part of the game plan in this comeback that the team had on Friday night.
Yes, sir. We have a bunch of route combinations. Everyone was doing their part, getting me open, and then Dalton was just throwing it on time. He was doing really good.
When you got the first couple of passes, could you kind of feel that you were, it was going to be one of those nights where you were going to be able to get open consistently and be able to make a lot of plays?
Yeah. During halftime, I was like, they're throwing the ball a lot. I just need to step up in the second half, and hopefully we come back.
Looking at this group, what did it show you about this team, especially the last 2 weeks, getting down in games and being able to come back and being able to get yourselves with a chance to win one of the games and then being able to finally complete it this past week, beating Chilton County? Just what did it show you about this group and really the resiliency that this team has?
It showed a lot of leadership from some of our seniors and some of our juniors. Really just toughness, grinding it out, coming back, just winning.
You guys are used to being able to watch Washington run around with the ball all the time, and obviously he ends up on Friday night with an injury and is not able to play as much. How fun was it to watch a guy like A.J. Horseheads step up and make some of the plays that he was able to make and really kind of carry the load for this team the way that he was able to?
It was really cool. He's had a hard 4 years, but he came, he showed up, and he really played and helped us run the ball.
How good of an example do you feel like he can be for some of the younger guys and for some of the people to look to? Is, like you kind of talked about and Coach Busby talked about, he's had some injuries, he's had some things that have hurt him over the 4 years, but he's just kind of stuck to it and finally got his time to shine and performed on Friday night.
AJ, he's always grinding it out. What can I say? He's just a really tough dude, He's always working. I've never seen him slacking. He's always doing his part and always trying to get better.
For you, obviously having the type of performance that you had Friday night, teams are going to be keying in on you a little bit more now, and Pelham's probably going to have a game plan to stop you out there. How is that going to have to change, your focus and the way that you now get prepared on Friday nights, knowing that you're going to have people paying attention to you and trying to stop you?
I'm just going to have to focus harder and make sure I come out with my A game and just do what I know how to do.
Tell me about this rivalry with Pelham. This is a big game for you guys. Every time I talk about Pelham to any of you guys, a smile comes on y'all's face. And I know this is one that y'all really, really care about. What is it about this team and what is it about this game that makes this a special game?
It's just they're so close to us and we know everyone. They know us. And, we just want to beat them and hope that we do.
Your dad played at Pelham.
Yes,
does that add anything for you? Does it make you want to get after them anymore?
Not really. They didn't have Helena back then, but I still want to beat them.
When you look at Friday night, what do you feel like this team is going to have to do to come out and play better early in the game, not dig itself in a hole the way that it has the last 2 weeks? What do you feel like the biggest keys for that part of it is?
We're just going to have to focus, make sure we know everything. We can't have any mess-ups. And hope we run the ball and spread the ball out and get them on their heels, basically.
Looking back at the Homewood game, that was the first home game of the season. Is there anything, Coach kind of talked about he didn't feel like the team was preparing as well and wasn't as focused beforehand. Do you feel like that you and some of the other guys, some of the starters in this team are going to have to make sure that guys are doing what they're supposed to do before the game Friday night and mentally preparing the way that you guys need them to in order to perform well Friday night?
Yes, sir. There's just all the people there, they're doing what they're doing, but all the starters need to step up and tell them to just chill out, sit there and just focus and worry about the game.
What are you looking forward to most about the atmosphere Friday night, and the energy in the crowd and just all of that type of stuff?
Just all the people there watching us play, all the news people and all that stuff, getting probably on TV and stuff.
What are your biggest keys for Friday night as a whole? What is this team just going to have to really do well down in, down out in order to come away with a victory?
Offense needs to start strong. We need to throw the ball well. We need to run the ball well. O-line needs to block. Defense, they just need to hold them and don't let up any points and just play really tough.
Listen, man, really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Howlin with the Huskies. Congratulations again to you on setting the record for most catches in a football game in Helena history. It's an awesome thing. You will always be right there in the record books here. And good luck this week, man. Really, really big game with Pelham, and really look forward to seeing how this one goes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Go Huskies.
It's going to do it for us here on Howlin with the Huskies. We'll be back next week to recap the game with Pelham and start getting prepared for the next one.
The Steakhouse of Helena is the place for community gatherings, rich history, and delectable, made-from-scratch meals. Our professional staff is dedicated to serving you with the best steaks, chops, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and more. You'll enjoy a welcoming community atmosphere, local history, and enjoyable dishes you won't find anywhere else. Our restaurant is perfect for the entire family, business events, and special occasions. So come on down to the Steakhouse in historic Old Town Helena.